This is what artists call chicken scratch. Lots of tiny indecisive lines stacked on top of each other. This is how I currently draw. And let me tell you, it's not a stylistic choice. I wish I could say it's on purpose, but the truth is I can't draw a single clean line to save my life. So this week I'm going to change that. Not just my lines, but my circles too, which currently looks more like potatoes. The goal is simple, improve my overall line control. The plan is simple. Every day I'll draw 1000 lines, 1000 circles, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 3 meals daily with a banana. Oh, wrong list. Just the first two. Each day I'll tackle a different aspect of line control and put it all together to see if I can improve my drawing ability with circles and lines. First, let's test my current skill level. I laid out a few exercises to test my line and circle control. On the right we have the lines, horizontal, vertical and diagonal. These really show how unstable my hand is. You can clearly see the wobbly lines and how inconsistent those lines are. Then next we have the circles. For this one I was meant to use the dot as the center and then draw a large circle, then gradually smaller circles shrinking toward the middle. But as you can see, I missed the mark quite a bit and it turned into a bit of a mess. Then we have the box circles. The goal is to draw the circles inside the boxes, and I think I did pretty well keeping it inside the boxes. They don't really seem to be circles, but they were better than what I had here. Now to test whether my line control experiment will actually make me a better artist or not, let's draw something to establish my current skill level. I think the best way to test my line and circle control is to draw a man-made object, something that has lines and circle in it, which is why I chose a Polaroid camera. You can probably already spot some of my weaknesses, so let's see how much I can improve this week. Before putting anything on paper, I want to fix something a little more fundamental. How I actually hold my pen. This is my current grip. My thumb wraps around my index finger and I'm basically holding the pencil in a fist. It's how I've held pens and pencils for as long as I can remember, and while it works, there are a lot of issues with it. When writing or drawing, I squeeze really hard. This creates a lot of pressure in my index finger and my other fingers are also digging into my palm. It seems fine at first, but during longer sessions, the issues really start to show. So we'll be tackling that today. The first thing I learned is there isn't just one correct way to hold a pen. There are multiple positions people naturally find more comfortable than others, but also in a more practical sense. Different grips suit different tasks. This is an overhand grip. It makes your pencils more horizontal so you can use more of the sides of the lead. There's also benefits of holding the pencil closer or away from the tip. So there are countless grip positions you can use, but for me I'm going to be using the standard tripod grip. It fixes a lot of the issues that I had with my old grip. It keeps my fingers more open instead of curling tightly into my palm. In theory, it will help me reduce the tension and allow me to draw more comfortably. It does feel a little awkward right now, but I think I'll benefit a lot once I get used to it. So for day one, I'm filling in pages with lines and circles, just focusing on getting comfortable with the grip. And after 1000 lines, 1000 circles, I do feel a lot more comfortable using the new grip. The next thing I want to focus on is speed. This is something I kind of understand intuitively. So if you draw a line with big confident motion, it tends to come out smoother. If you go too slow, it gets shaky, it starts to wobble. Every tiny correction becomes really obvious. So today the goal is to get used to drawing faster in a single motion. After a few hundred lines, I do feel a lot looser. I was less hesitant and was more comfortable making confident lines. For day 3, I'm focusing on accuracy. While speed helped me build confidence, I lost a lot of control. So today I'm incorporating some precision exercises to improve the control and placement of my strokes. For lines, I'm practicing connecting 2 dots with one clean stroke. For circles, I'm using the grids and lines on the page as guidelines that the circle have to fit in. This helps me be more intentional about their size and position. This felt quite difficult. Even after everything, I felt like I was mainly relying on luck to complete these exercises. But it did give me a clearer idea of my weaknesses and where I need to work on. To further develop my accuracy, today I'm incorporating a technique called ghosting. Instead of drawing immediately, I rehearse the motion a few times in the air before touching the paper. This helps me visualize the motion and in theory makes it easier to get the stroke right. While doing this, I do feel like it gives me a better feel of the lines and I was able to be more intentional while drawing. Especially with the circle, I felt really uncomfortable at the start, but towards the end I found it easier to commit to the stroke. The results weren't perfect, but I am finding myself being more intentional rather than mindlessly drawing. Day 5 was all about pen pressure. The goal was to get better at drawing both really light lines and darker, cleaner ones. Being able to control the pressure gives you a lot more control over the kinds of marks that you can make. For this, I focus on being able to produce consistent pressure, both with the light lines and also dark, heavy strokes. This felt harder than I expected. It was really easy to apply too much pressure when drawing lightly and also losing control when pressing too hard. To challenge myself even more, I focused on transitioning between the different pressure. I did some gradients and also practicing tapering my lines. And even though all these exercises are pretty simple, it made me much more aware of how much pressure I was actually using in my day-to-day drawings. The final skill I want to practice wasn't really about my hand, it was about my thinking, planning. Because sometimes the problem isn't that I can't draw a line, the problem is that I start drawing before I know what I'm trying to do. This results in what artists call searching lines. Today I'm focusing on planning out what I'm going to do before putting it on paper. I'm using references of different objects and try to break them down into simple shapes before starting drawing. I'm spending more time observing and be more intentional with my line economy. This felt very different from the previous exercises. Rather than focusing on how I make a line, I'm focusing on why I'm making it. There were a lot of areas where I reverted back to my chicken scratches, but overall, I was pretty proud of the sketches I made. The proportion and details might not be completely accurate, but the line quality felt noticeably better. The drawings looked more intentional and much less messy than what I would have done normally. For the first time during this challenge, it felt like all the previous exercises were starting to come together. The speed, accuracy, and ghosting practices all seemed to carry over into how I drew these sketches. And with that, I'm going to call it a day and get ready for tomorrow where I'll be testing how much I've improved or not. After 7 days of drawing thousands of lines and circles, it's finally time to see if anything actually changed. So, I recreated the exact same test from the beginning. Same lines, same circles, and honestly, the result really surprised me. It looked worse than the start. Looking at the two tests side by side, my first thought was, did I actually get worse? I spent an entire week drawing thousands of lines. Surely I would have something to show for it. But I do. This challenge dramatically changed how I draw. The biggest change was the grip. I was able to draw for a long time without feeling like my hand was falling off. And the way I approach mark making also changed. It's more intentional. I'm not mindlessly putting lines on paper. I'm considering the different qualities of the line and start to consider my line economy. Looking at the result, you can see that my lines are overall looser. The lines aren't perfectly straight, the circles aren't perfectly round, but that was never the goal. The goal was to improve my control and build habits that would carry into everything I draw. Here's a redraw of the camera I drew in the beginning. It still has chicken scratches and it's not perfectly accurate, but this time I approached it differently. I focused on drawing confident lines, I paid attention to the pressure I used when laying down the construction, and I was intentional about every mark I put on the page. To develop incredible line control, it will take much longer than 7 days. But in just 1 week, I can already feel the difference. I improved, not by a lot, but I did. And I think that's a win in my book. Alright, see ya.